Okay, thank you so much for inviting me, Kerning people. It's a pleasure for me to be here. I was in Italy many times in the past, and the last time I was here, it was 2008 already. So I'm super happy about being back in Italy and in such a beautiful town. So how did I start? I mean, sometimes people ask me, how do you start doing type? And it has a start, of course. I always like to say this, that for me, this is something very inspiring. I mean, my first encounter with type was happened at my family's printing workshop. My grandfather was a printer, and this is the cars of my grandfather. So my grandfather was Antonio Meseguer, and he had a printing workshop in the old town in Barcelona. And my father also became a printer after his father died. So this is the card of my father and his brother, meaning the widow of Antonio Meseguer and Sons. So it was the heritage. And I like to say that because I always remember myself when I was a kid going to the workshop of my father to play with metal letters and wood letters. So I started playing with letters as a toy and putting ink on that. But you know, I like to, it's a romantic idea. So I like to share it with you. So, but for real, I started to do type in a very amateur way when I met these designers, Joan Barjau, Henri Jardí, and José Meuros in Barcelona back in 1992 already, the same year as the Olympics. And they were a gang of 3 guys called Typotons. Typotons because of the music, because of they were a band, and they were musicians, artists, illustrators. So they were not really type designers. They were not type designers. They were people doing other things, but they really liked drawing letters. So I met Josema, the one on the last one, as a teacher of software in advertising agency I was working at the time. So he teach us what was a computer, what was a mouse, what was Quark Express, what was Illustrator. And then this is how I discovered that could draw letters with a computer. So Typotons started as a very small foundry, amateur foundry in Barcelona, because we have personal computers. So we have computers and we could do letters with computers, so why not? No? And we were meeting each other every Friday afternoon to draw letters together. And it was very nice at that moment in Barcelona happened that Mas Kisman, a Dutch designer and illustrator and type designer, was in Barcelona and he was connected with Fonshop. And he invited us to join Fonshop. He introduced us to Fonshop, and this is why we started to do catalogs and letters. So my first typeface was this, that is cortada, means cut. And it was an exercise that I did it with no knowledge at all. At that time, we were not learning calligraphy of type design in schools. There was no tradition, and this was just, you know, intuition and doing in a very playful way. So this typeface is drawn with a photographer at the time, with no curves at all, and it's very imperfect and inconsistent in contrast, but it was a way of starting. No? So for me, there was a moment, at that time I am a graphic designer, I studied graphic design, and I was doing type just as a hobby. But then I become more and more aware that this is what I really wanted to do. But I realized that I had no clue how to do type. So then, after this quote, I decided to stop for 1 year, and this is when I enrolled in Type Media in the Netherlands, in The Hague. And then I learned not to be a type designer, but how to become a type designer. That is quite important because we were trained in tools, so we were training on different tools, and the practice was learning by doing. So we were doing different kinds of things. We were doing calligraphy, we were doing stone carving, programming, printing. Actually, this was the first time I did printing. My father never allowed me to print because he thought it was too dangerous. No. But yeah, so we learned tools. And with these tools, we had like 3 months of training. And there is where I discovered calligraphy for the first time. I never did calligraphy before. And for me, I mean, discovering calligraphy as a way of understanding letters, structure, rhythm, texture, all these things was like a completely discovery. And I got completely hooked on that, on calligraphy, and very, very interested on that. So we were practicing two kinds of calligraphy. to understand different kinds of contrast, contrast by translation, contrast by expansion, etc. And we had this, this transmission of knowledge. Kerning Northside, he's the master of the academy, the one who created this way of teaching that says that calligraphy qualities underlies all letters regardless of the technology to produce them. So this is something that I decided to practice, and this is some sketches of the typeface I did there in the academy. Terrible sketches. When I look at them, I really, but yeah, you can imagine, put yourself in the situation, someone that only did letters for fun, and suddenly you have to do something that is based on structure and rhythm and calligraphy. So the result was Rumba, that is this typeface, that became a sort of first quality typeface. But for me at that moment, I remember now very well, I was not really aware of or worried about the result. For me, it was the process. The process of designing this typeface, that is 3 fonts actually, was so intense that I could not think about what's going to happen at the end. So I was the process, and the process led me to these shapes, and this was the result. So that's it. I mean, I had no pretensions, but it worked. So and people like it, and then I was very lucky that when I come back to Barcelona, I work as a freelance. I could work as a freelance. So this is something that happened when I came back to Barcelona. After the master, okay, what do you do now? You come back to graphic design, or you try to do type design in a professional way? It was a very important moment. And then I was very lucky that I contacted people of house industries, and they hired me for almost 2 years as a freelance designer. So I always have to thank them that they gave me this opportunity to work with them as a freelance. That made me continue. And also feeling more confident about the type design. So I did this typeface based on drawings of Ken Barber, and this typeface that is based on one of the fonts of photo lettering archive. So, and then also I start teaching. So teaching has been for many, many years part of my daily life. So I'll teach less now because I try to have more time for myself, but at that time, I was teaching like 3 times a day, a week, and it was quite a lot, so it was very intense. But also helped me a lot to do better my work, and also, as Monica was saying, research, no? So doing a lot of research because you have to teach. I remember that period when I was working every weekend to prepare my lessons. It was really exhausting, but later very interesting. So, well, my talk will be mostly about reference and inspiration and on how these things work. So. My reference and inspiration can be quite personal, but now I can see with time that my references are really important in my work. So after I did calligraphy as a student in type media, I started to enroll calligraphy courses with Uriol Miró, who is an amazing person, calligrapher friend. So I joined him and his other colleagues every 6 months for an intense calligraphy workshop in the mountains or in a sanctuary, depends. So we are there doing different styles of calligraphy. And this allows me to practice different styles that allows me to do lettering work. So I learned different ways of doing calligraphy, and this allows me to draw letters in many different styles. And also one of the most heavy inspirations are the vernacular design and lettering that you can find around everywhere, so in a piece of paper in your cities. And I do a lot of pictures of lettering in the cities, and I collect them in my Instagram account. It works like an archive for me, but also for people. I've been taking already some pictures here that are already in my account, so it's a constant thing. No? Anytime I need something, I always go to my archive and look at it. And also book covers. I collect covers. I collect books by the cover. I don't read them. Never, ever. No. Yeah, and I really love this. I mean, but mostly this period, 50s and 60s, where lettering is the main thing. So, and I feel very connected with these people because I think they always try to put some emotions and personal views on letters on the covers, no? And for me, this has a super strong aesthetic value, and it's very, very, very important also for me. So for me, yeah, see, this is what I see on all these references. I mean, the lettering and the cities, etc. No? So for me, when you can give expressivity and some feelings to letters, I feel that this is something that appeals to me a lot. So I'm always trying to put emotions on letters. It's a very unconscious thing, but somehow it happens. So probably this is something that can be seen in my work. No? So in my work of lettering, what I do is to start many times with calligraphy. So this is one of the examples of many. And what I do is, after doing calligraphy sketches many times, not only one, I do digitation of, this is my logotype now, so I do digitations of this. So my work is very much based on calligraphy, but I also do lettering for brands that is very much based in typography. So I can do I do anything. I'm trying to, of course, when they ask me, I have a briefing, of course, and I talk with the client, and then I propose solutions, and then I start working. Sometimes it's calligraphic, sometimes it's more typographic, other times it's based on my own writing. So, and this goes for logos, or it goes for products, etc. So this is what gives me my economical basis, I would say. So it's the most things I work on, and some custom types as well, that I cannot show because it's this NDA that I cannot show anything of my custom work in type, but just in lettering. So it's papers and then products, and you can see that's very much inspired on this expressive way of lettering. Then some posters for printing, as Simone was saying, etc. So I'm going to talk about type design. I'm going to be focused only in one specific project. So I do both custom, work with clients, and retail, where the client can be anybody in the world. And when I work in type design, I will just try to care about these three aspects: the function, what is the idea; the form, that is the aspect of the look of the font; and then the content, that is the purpose. So the purpose for me now, it becomes very important. What is the transcendence of this project? What's going to happen with this typeface? What communicates? What is the real thing that you want to do with your job? These are all the fonts I have designed so far of the typefaces. So, and most of them are custom. But yeah, so the last one, Candus, is this one. And this is a project that for me, it's a still ongoing project. It's not finished. So this project started in 2015 already. But it's the most challenging project I have done so far in terms of research and working with people and trying to understand other writing systems and how to put this flavor of other writing systems in your own work, how to these different writing systems communicate with each other. No? What is very interesting. I mean, this starts with Arabic and later goes to Latin and Tifinagh. So these are the three writing systems that are used in the Maghreb, the Arabic, the Latin, and the Tifinagh. And I work with Christian Sarkis for the Arabic and Juan Luis Blanco for the Tifinagh. I'm going to explain a little bit of the background of this project. So this is all the research part. So I will start with explaining what is their Arabic script and the Maghribi style. So Arabic style of writing had origins in the Islamic art and civilizations, and is widely used in mosques and palaces and all these architectural spots, and also in manuscripts and books, and especially to copy the Quran. No? It's this, I mean, this knowledge and this heritage we have from the Arabic world. So Arabic script is cursive, and I mean, it's continuous writing, and is semi-connected sometimes, connected sometimes, and it also has a lot of composition and overlapping, so it's really something very aesthetical, and that is very, very appealing to your eye. No? It's extremely beautiful. No? Writing styles, I mean, this is the Maghreb. So you have Libya, Algeria, Morocco, and Tunisia, and the south of Spain when Spain was occupied by the Arabs, and it was Al-Andalus at that time. So a Maghrebi style is the style of the Arabic that was developed in this region. So now they still write it in the northwest of Africa, and it's this country, sorry, but it has very short tradition in typography. So it has calligraphy, but very short tradition in typography. So in general, the Arabic calligraphy scripts are grouped in two main constructions. The one on the left is more fluid, and the one on the right is more solid. So fluid and solid are concepts that Lara Captan and Christian Sarkis are using now. This is something that they start to use to explain in a very graphical way two styles, something that is more kufic and something that is more ornamented. And Magibri is something that is in the middle, it's placed in the middle. So it comes from the solid, I mean, it has more structure, but with years, it became more fluid. So it still keeps both things. It's a bit fluid, but also a bit solid. And every style, because it was so far, let's say, so far from the origin of the Arabic script, so we are now in north of Africa, south of Spain, it developed its own style. So Magibri is a specific style developed in this region. Yeah. And the Tifinagh script is the writing that the Tamasip people use for writing Amazigh, that is their language. So Amazigh is the culture, Tamasip is the language, and Tifinagh is the writing system. It's spoken by the Amazigh people, and mostly in this area of Africa. You see, and also it has some dialects, but mostly is this Egypt, Libya, Tunisia, Algeria, Morocco, Niger, Mali, and Mauritania. And yeah, so far actually, Tifinagh script is only official in Morocco and Algeria from 2011 and 2016, respectively. So you can imagine it's a super young script, but the people in these communities need it for communication. So far they were doing it by writing, but now they need it for the computer. So now they had to create, there's a necessity of a specific writing in type design. So, well, this is how Tifinagh has been preserved in inscriptions. So it's really, really old, but there's no manuscripts. So we have manuscripts in Spanish, in Latin and in Arabic, but we don't have manuscripts in Tifinagh. So the research is very, very difficult because you have to look in books, but yeah, there's no so many inspirational sources, let's say, no? Yeah, so this is how the script looks nowadays. So this alphabet was defined by the IRCAM, the Institut Royal de Cultura Amazigh, in 2003. And these are the signs. You see that it's very strange. It looks like Klingon writing or something from another planet. But because it's based on these symbols that they were writing on stone. So they developed their own language and they were Simpson. So it has only 33 characters and it has 22 dialects, so you can imagine. And this is the reality of how it's used in Morocco. So you can see here Tifinagh, and Arabic and French, but you can see also that some signs that only have Arabic and Tifinagh, not even French. So you can imagine how relevant is this script for them. So it needs to be written in a good way, and ideally in harmonization with Arabic writing, what is something that doesn't happen. No? So the government decided to create this digital font to provide schools and everybody. They did this font for free for everybody to have something in the computer. No? But this happened in 2003. And it's following descriptions. So it's very geometric, monolinear, so has no modulation, no ductus. So just something that is quite cold in a way. No? When you see how designers applied it, you can see that's completely lack of harmonization. So Latin fonts, Arabic fonts, Tifinagh is completely different. And this is where, in this context, is where our project appears, that is Candus, and it's this harmonization of the three scripts in a conceptual way. So that's important because it's more about the concept than the shapes of the letters. No? So this project wanted to reflect that type design is something that is not alien to society, that type design is a tool for communication, and society needs typefaces for not only for communication, but also for integration among communities. No? So through type, the idea was to make people communicate each other. So this is the history of this project. No? So this project was created in the frame of the typographic matchmaking in the Maghreb project. So this project was launched by the HUD Foundation Center for Arabic Typography. That is a foundation that was created by Huda Smithhausen and Fares in the Netherlands, in Amsterdam. So it's a cultural foundation that is a design research center that wants to promote design and typography in the Middle East and North Africa, and also bringing these Arabic typefaces and design to Europe in a way, no? So, and create networks. Mostly it's about creating networks. So we were the team. We did two trips. So we were 3 teams. We created 3 different typeface families, and Candus was one of them. So we were, Christian and Juan Luis are the ones at the bottom, and then other team was Naima Benayet with Redouane Chetouane, and then Andrew Balius with Juan Luis also for the Tifinac and the 2 curators. So we were 10 people traveling together and 1 filmmaker. So the origin of Candus is the manuscripts of Al-Kandusi. So this is the calligraphy of Al-Kandusi. Al-Kandusi was a calligrapher that was born in Algeria, but he moved to Morocco. It's from the 19th century. And as far as we could research, we were there, and also because Christian Sarkis is specialized in Arabic writing and he's constantly doing research. As far as we could discover, he was the only one using unorthodox tools for Arabic writing. So Arabic writing is written with a very specific calamo, so something very, let's say, orthodoxal, and it creates a very orthodoxal contrast, etc. But this man, Al-Kandusi, decided to put calligraphy in another level. So he was creating his own tools, like wider than usual, etc. So he was an artist, obviously, because he was doing his own thing. No? So here you can see, for instance, in the second image where you see the yellow rounds, this is the same character written in different ways. And it's something that you can see in a more extreme way on the right side. These blue dots, these 3 characters is the same character in Arabic. And you can imagine how, I mean, his brain, no? How he was thinking, because every time he was using different shapes, putting imagination and more plasticity to his own writing. So this is something that Christian Sarkis was completely amazed by that, because it was super unusual. And this is sort of regular, bueno, medium, but when you go to the other pieces of Al-Kandusi, you see, for instance, the one on the top, you see these super abstract shapes that is almost made with a super wide brush and crazy tool. No? So for us, it's very appealing because it's very abstract, but the most amazing thing is that Arabic people can read it. No, they can read it, but still, it's very extreme. No? So he puts legibility on the streams and becomes something very, very, very pictorial. No? And you can see also, for instance, here, this one on the bottom, that he is mixing something very fluid with something very rigid in one word. No? This is the word paradise. So it's really, well, it was very interesting to see it. So this gave us a birth of the concept. So we decided to explore, to check all the manuscripts we could find. And we went also, when we went to Morocco, we went also to Rabat, to the Royal Library, and then we could see the manuscripts for real, that we almost faint there. I should have shown a picture of us looking at the manuscripts, actually, but then you don't see the letters. But it was a really amazing experience to see this for real, especially for Arabic people, because it's something very, very precious. So we defined it like 3 weights of styles. So the one we were going to use this more sort of legible writing for the regular weight, something already a bit more expressive for the medium weight, and something completely expressive for the dark weight. So the concept of of the project was this, to propose a dialogue between Gothic solid influences and more organic affluent writing in Arabic style. So our first workshop in Marrakech finished like this. Only 15 minutes left? Oh my God. Okay, I will have to cut. I have another speech later if you want. No, okay, it's fine. No, sorry. So this was the first sketch we had. After 1 week of working together, this was the result of the workshop. How to put this feeling, this mood, this trying to be Al-Kandusi writing Arabic, Latin calligraphy, anti-final calligraphy. So this is the result of the Arabic. You here see the 3 weights. And for the Tifinac, because the references of Juan Luis were not in the manuscripts, he defined something that was more based on the carving. So he decided, but you already see that there's some contrast. That doesn't have to do anything with the geometric shapes that we saw before. And this is how it looks the Tifinac. You see that it has this contrast and this mood. No? So for the Latin, that was my part, it was a very important moment when we did the second workshop in Andalusia. We went to the south of Spain, we went to La Alhambra de Granada, Mezquita de Córdoba, and we had also this, I mean, I already knew because I had been there before, but it was very interesting to go to Granada and Córdoba with people that can read Arabic. It was a completely amazing experience. And also the idea that when we were walking on the streets of Córdoba and Granada, you could see how people got the influence of the Arabic. And yeah, so this gave a turn to my project, and I decided also to put an Andalusian flavor in my project, so something that is also Spanish, not only Al-Andalus, but also something Spanish. No? So the key features for the project was there, so for the Latin, so because Arabic is cursive, I decided to do something that is more like a bright italic and trying to make something really related in the mood, no? In the writing of Arabic. So I started doing sketches, very worried about the idea how to translate the rotation. It's because Arabic calligraphy has rotation also, and I was used only to work in calligraphy with expansion and translation. So applying rotation in calligraphy was very difficult. So what I did was to write Latin calligraphy with Arabic tools and the same degrees, etc. No? So I started doing these kind of sketches and also always looking at the manuscripts and the first sketches of the Arabic done by Christian. No? So I had no clue at all. I was completely lost. It was a complete disaster. I had no idea what to do. So I decided to go a bit back and design something more normal in a way, something that could be a sort of a right italic, but something that could mean something to me, no? in structure. So this is what I did as a base font. And also, for the dark, I started sketching, trying to get this super black darkness of the Al-Kandusi with a lot of contrast, almost no counterforms, etc. No? So this was the result of the first proofs. And yeah, so, but you can see that this is something very reverse contrast based. And it was really losing the idea of doing something that was rotation. So I had a problem, so I designed like 8 alphabets before arriving to conclusions. So this was the texture of these first alphabets, and this was a moment of turning point. You can see the first serif of the letter I and how it transformed, because this was very too funny, too anecdotic, so I decided to turn into something more related to Latin. So stop looking at the manuscript, stop trying to do something in Arabic, and go back to the roots of the Latin script and see what I could apply, no? So all the concept of expressivity, hybridation was applied to the Latin in another way. So this is the evolution of some of the letters, and this is how the regular look like. You have here in the bottom the comparison with the Latin and the Arabic. And also, well, for the Latin alphabet, normally when we are designing our capitals, capitals are very sober, and then try to put this expressivity in the capital letters. No? So this is how it looks, the regular. And then for the medium, if you remember, we have this hybridation of shapes. So what I tried to do for the medium was to make something completely crazy. So it was a playground. It was fantastic to work on this, because this is letter shapes that I could never imagine before if I didn't have this also very important feedback from Christian and Juan Luis all the time. So we were working together on the ideas. And then here I decided to mix things. Just, okay, why not? No? So I decided to do this hybridation with letters and these flourishes, and also this inline that you could see before in Al-Kandusi manuscripts. You can see in the Arabic as well, and how to apply these two letters. No? See, this was the most experimental one. And for the dark, this one is the most funny, and you want to hug her, you want to eat her, because I decided to put this pop feeling on this just because of the idea of expression. No? So this is how it looks. So these are the 3 weights, and this is how they look in texture. And yeah, so here you can see the regular with the 3 scripts, and the medium, and the dark, some other words. The Arabic, the Latin, and the Tifinagh. And this was the end of the project. I mean, the curated project. It lasts for 1 year. So we started in September 2015, and we finished in September 2016 with 2 more trips that we did in France and in Amsterdam. We met 2 times more, and we did final presentation. But then with Christian, we realized that our project was extremely complicated to publish, because we have many, many alternates and many possibilities, because Arabic also allows that, and also I was unable to decide which shapes I will take as the default shape. So then we decided to continue with the project, and now we are working on the retail version of the project. This project will be published and released for free for everybody when Huda has the book, and there will be a presentation, and 2 weights of every family will go for free for everybody, and especially for the Moroccan community. So we decided to explore more this concept of solid, original, and fluid. So we decided to split the family, and what we had before, we call it original, because it's the one that is more related to the work of Al-Kandusi. And then we have the solid and the fluid. So this is how Christian is working on the solid. So he decided to also look at other manuscripts, not only Al-Kandusi, and he decided to go as solid as possible in different ways. So this is his medium for now, and this is his dark for now. That is very much appealing to lettering. So something that you probably could see on the project, I didn't say, is that the regular is more calligraphy, and the dark is more drawing. And the medium is something in the middle. It takes something from calligraphy, but it's mostly drawing as well. No? So it goes from calligraphy to drawing. Yeah, so this is the original, and this is how it looks in Arabic for now. And then for Juan Luis, it was much more tricky because he had no manuscripts again. But also the Berbers, the Amazigh people, they were also writing on sand because they are nomads, so they write on sand. So Juan Luis found this concept of doing the fluid as if it was written on sand. And we think that this is something extremely beautiful and super brilliant, and we can't stop congratulating him about how brilliant he is, because this is something completely amazing. So he decided to do the solid even more solid. You can see that it's more structured. You can see very easy now how the original has a mix, and the fluid is based on this idea, the shape of the finger at the end. No? And this is for the Latin. So for me, how to do a solid in Latin, how to do a fluid in Latin. No? So the solid was most based on reference in history of typography that were mostly drawn, not calligraphy. And then I decided to take references on the Didon construction, that is the Bodoni letters that were really drawn more than calligraphic and in the roots. And for the fluid, I decided to go as upright italic as possible. Yeah, so this is how it looks now. This is the regular version of the letters, and this is the texture. You can see how in the bottom, you can see that it could be almost written in a very formal way, but it's these shapes that when we were kids, we were learning to write on these books with the dots, and then these very structured shapes. And what I did for the solid also was to apply a set of swashes. So I decided to keep on doing more letters. So probably I might be using a little bit, but here in the bottom you can see how with this, how it changed the mood of the word. So this was also an intention in my project. So this is the medium. You can see also many hybridations, for instance, things taken for many things. So the solid has this structure, but it keeps the mood, and also in the bottom you have this sort of knots, that is the base of the letters. This is more the texture. And yeah, so also the swatches and the hybridation that you saw in the original, and then the fluid, is completely calligraphic, no? So, and this is the dark. So here in the dark, you see, I had the opportunity to explore in the solid these swatches that make curly shapes. I had lots of fun. This is super pop to me, but I'm very happy with the result because I have so much fun in this project, drawing it, so, and I think it's part of it. And then I went, maybe you remember the Arabic manuscripts, we have this inline. So for the ligatures, I decided to apply this stack letters, concept of stack letters and inline in the ligatures. This is the texture. And yeah, and then, okay, it's infinite. So I could draw so many different pieces, but then you have to stop a moment, drawing letters. And here you can see the differences. For instance, the construction is very minimal. When you see the bottom of the P and the solid and the original, you see that it's very minimal, but it has this thing that helped me to follow a system, because otherwise it was completely impossible. And here you see the word pizza, you know, how it's super different, no, at the end. And also I work on a lot of these double letters, zeta, zeta, SS. I try to make something like inspired in the Arabic with the stack letters and letters that go together. And these are the numbers. So if you go to Andalusia, to south of Spain, you will see that this number 1 here on the bottom is very typical in the streets of Andalusia. So this was something for me that I got completely obsessed about that. I had to put this one in the font. But later, finally, I found a way, a logical way to add it. No? And this is how it looks, all the system for the Latin. Yeah, so for me, this project conveys all this. So it's the design of original 6-place typeface family. So this is a display, so I can do this as a display. But while we were working on the weights, I was putting less and less display mood on the regular weight. So I think I can say that this is my serif typeface as well, you know, because it's not only a display, but and it works in text. So I'm testing now 8 points, and it really works. So I'm trying also to encourage people to use it in smaller sizes. It was the first time I participated in a multi-script project, and I learned a lot, as you can imagine. I was my first contact with Tifinagh for sure, but also with Arabic. We are very happy that we are giving tools to these underrepresented communities. We are also happy that we add some awareness to the design. No? And when you see can-dos in use, this is a bit, yeah, so one of the curators of the project, Brahim Bouchika, he is also a designer in Paris, and he's also an artist. So there was an exhibition of presentation of the full project in Marrakesh, and he was invited to do one piece. So he decided to do this installation, what's called the Flavour of Letters. So he contacted artisans in Marrakesh to do ceramics, and he did all this set of dishes in Arabic, Latin, and Tifinagh. He hung them on the wall. And then he also did these biscuits with can-dos for the opening. And then, yeah, so you can see the people working here. And this letter is a present he sent to me. This is my aid. It's like 10 centimeters tall, made by the artisans in Marrakesh. And it was, yeah, super nice. So the idea is to make objects and create something, because the exhibition that Huda prepared in Marrakesh was not only about graphic design. She invited fashion designers, jewelry designers to use the fonts. So she gave them the beta fonts to all these designers, and they create pieces with the fonts. And it was calligraphy pieces, calligraphy on walls. It was a lot of stuff. And then also there's one friend in Amsterdam that has her own artistic ceramics project. And then she wanted to use this typeface for recreating ceramics that they have in the Netherlands in the 16th century, when they had a lot of the traveling of the Dutch people. They were going to the colonies, Indonesia, etc., and they were creating these pieces of ceramics and Delft ceramics with messages of welcoming. So she decided to create this piece, "You are our earth, and also welcome my friends." So she created this series of that. Well, I had another project I wanted to show you, but I cannot, because I think my time is over and it's going to be quite long, but maybe 5 minutes? How much do I have? Okay, thank you. So I will go very fast on that. So last year I did something that I did for the first time in my life, was doing a residence in a artistic residence, let's call it, but it was in a printing workshop in Amsterdam. So I was living in this printing workshop for 3 months in Amsterdam. And then I tried to put myself in this idea of, okay, designers, we don't make art, but we can speak the artist language sometimes. So I tried to create a project from zero. And then I was starting getting references how artists were using type in their work. And I also read a lot as a research project. No? And then I arrived to this idea of that as graphic designers, we can add the work of the meaning of our work is connected how it's made. So the idea of printing, because I was in a printing workshop, it was obvious that I had to print. I was trying to find the connections with art and printing, blah, blah, blah. So I'm going to cut here. Then I was, okay, looking at people that use printing as a way of expression. So Paris 68, feminist posters, and then I found this person, Sister Corita Kent, that maybe you know, or you should know, because it was amazing. So my discovering of this nun that she was printing in the time, she was a pop artist, printing in the time of the Vietnam War. I highly recommend you to read about her work. It's fantastic. So then I started learning how to print in Riso in this, and I started to do very experiments, just composing stuff with my own typefaces for just proving their machines. And I was discovering textures, discovering unexpected effects, and then all this happened while I was thinking about the project. So, and then I create this project that is called Lettering Extravaganza. And the idea is to do a sort of artist alphabet. And I'm using the 26 letters of the alphabet trying to express with one attitude or one characteristics of typefaces. So for instance, the J for joyful, O for ornamented, hybrid for the H. And then here, what I was doing was mixing silk screen with risography. So I was just doing silk screen with, I'm going to go very fast on that. So this is the X of Exotica, and then the things that happen when you're printing in Riso, that you don't plan the colors at all. No, it's impossible to plan the colors. And then this is my homage to Sister Corita Kent. And I also I did silk screen in the way she was doing it, that it was with stencils, not with the film. So I was trying to use these artist techniques in the way they were using it. And also I was using the materials in the workshop, trying to do these kind of things. And yeah, so this project, I'm trying to finish it, and it's very slow because my residence there end, and I didn't manage at all to keep on doing it, but I'm working on the new pieces on this. And yeah, we had an exhibition, so I had to do an exhibition for the first time in my life as an artist, and it was very tricky. It was an exhibition of 4 hours only. And what I did for the visitors was to collect all the leftovers of the prints, because when you're printing in Riso, you have a lot of paper that goes to the rubbish, but it shouldn't. So I cut the posters in thirds, and then I made these booklets of cuts and maculas, and I gave to the people. But when I was doing it, I discovered that I could do something with them, and I started to do these compositions. Of course, you can imagine the context. So it's a workshop that is a former school, and the workshop is in the gym. And there are like 15 people, artists working at the same time with different machines. So you have a table, you are working, but someone comes there and, what are you doing? What's that? Maybe you could, no? And this was the most important thing, the influence of other people working in the same space. And then with this was very funny because, I mean, this means nothing, but they were also playing with the composition. So what I did was to create this shape, to do a some of engraving, and then I did 2 collages that are unique pieces, that this is collage 1 and this is collage 2. And then I did a magazine collecting all this experience that is a sort of letra theme fanzine. I have it one with me. If you want to see it later, I can show it to you. So this was the result of my residence, together with the tiny exhibition, and that's it. So it was my conclusion that this ideal project is a successful combination of content and translation, and it appeals to everything, to cooking, to calligraphy, to type design, to graphic design, to anything. That's all. Grazie.